Hey, hey!
Hey,
What's up, man?
how are you, man?
Good, dude.
Good. Is there a glare on the screen there? No?
How we looking? How we looking?
Okay. All right.
What's up,
Sounds
brother?
good.
Man,
Good for you.
hell of a week.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been busy. Busy on a lot of fronts.
Yeah.
So, anyway, kind of little subdued in the news and the moods of most people.
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of a deal. But
What are you seeing?
well, what I'm looking at is all the anomalies, to be honest. And what we're seeing, I mean, you can pick out a little bit of the information, the tidbits here and there, and the headlines that that you get through your regular news sources, your standard news sources and stuff. But just think of these terms. A couple days ago, there were over 25,000 guardsmen in D.C.
Dude.
There's now pushing 65,000 guardsmen. You heard me right. 65,000 guardsmen on active duty in support of this operation, and not just evidently in D.C. That number may include also others across the country, but I've heard DC. It's all in DC. All that number, or I heard that number is all of the country. But just imagine 65,000 National Guardsmen on active duty right now. So that's quite an anomaly, and at the very least, 30,000 plus are in DC strictly for the inauguration security and the events around the inauguration. Makes no sense whatsoever. It's unprecedented. It's never been done before. And then here are just a few other facts, kind of anomalies,
Yeah.
facts. In 3 days leading up to, I believe it was Saturday. In 3 days leading up to Saturday, the military flew 137 sorties. 137 sorties into the D.C. area in support of this operation. That's a number that's comparable to combat operations overseas.
Right.
I mean, it's an insane amount of logistical flights. There's guardsmen coming from all over the place. They threw 80 guardsmen into a tanker aircraft from Alaska and flew them in.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just bringing in people left and right. A couple of other things. Over 2,000 National Guardsmen were sworn in as United States deputy U.S. Marshals, special deputies, with full law enforcement powers to make arrests, and enforce any laws. They're also special deputy U.S. Marshals are also one of their specialties is also courtroom security. Uh, Today, I learned that on top of that, the National Guardsmen who have been deputized, there are other law enforcement officials who have been deputized as deputy U.S. Marshals. Same category.
Yeah.
So there's now over 4,000 U.S. Marshals in Washington, D.C. deputized under this operation for inauguration security.
For the inauguration.
For the inauguration, whatever reason. Another, here I got a few more. There has now been reports of active duty units that have been deployed in support of this operation. These active duty units are specialized type units. They specialize in radiological, biological, chemical, nuclear defense and those types of specialties like sniffer type units. Also, not only that type of units, but we have heard or we've seen videos of some of the guardsmen in D.C. and saw patches on arms that were 10th Mountain Division. 10th Mountain's an active infantry division. On top of what we had mentioned before about different types of equipment and uniforms and whatnot that aren't really standard issue for that type of a mission that has been seen employed out there. So that's a thing. Then interestingly enough, having to do with this mobilization, which, to be completely honest with you, looks like a military occupation.
I mean, I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to jump. I'm going to jump in because...
Yeah. So, it looks like a military occupation, and that's exactly what it is. It's a military occupation of that city. It almost looks like it's a military coup, to be completely honest with you. A little more on that later. You'll probably mention some stuff about that. But the FBI has been what was evidently vetting the National Guardsmen in D.C. To go through to see if there's any kind of extremists or domestic terrorists or anything like that. And then when they announced that they were going to do that, the DoD announced that they had taken the lead in doing that vetting with the FBI and DOJ. So I'm not sure. Typically, DoD doesn't do that type of vetting. So that's kind of an out of the parameters thing that's going on there too, another anomaly, if you will. Right. And today or yesterday maybe we had heard that a couple of guardsmen had been identified as or removed from duty there because of maybe some social media posts or membership in some groups or something like that. And maybe I think it's now up to 12 is what I had heard this afternoon. I don't know what those details are. No, none of us do. These are just the stories that we're hearing, and maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's false. Who knows? But that's kind of what we're hearing, and that's kind of on par with what you and I have talked about. What they want to do to identify MAGA supporters and conservatives and patriots as domestic terrorists. They're on a mission for that. Then with all this other stuff coming up, Biden demoted the entire United States Secret Service presidential security detail, who has been protecting Trump, and now a new detail is going to be put in there, evidently to protect him, which is just, again, another unprecedented move in a transition like this. It's an anomaly. And this all happened during a lot of this information with the military coming in and security and whatnot. So, it's just really, things don't really make sense. The streets are empty. There's no civilians around there. It's entirely locked down. The entire city's locked down.
Who's going to go there?
Their armed protests didn't materialize that they kept calling out. They didn't materialize. There were no armed protests. There were no MAGA supporters out there with arms. In fact, the videos and photos of the people they saw in the cities with arms were of suspect-like characters. They look like what your Antifa guys and those guys would look like. So that didn't happen for them. Thank God there wasn't anything stupid that went on, but I think MAGA folks, conservatives, patriots, Americans alike listened and to the president and stayed home. Didn't go get stupid or anything like that, and didn't get themselves in trouble. At any rate, that's just regarding the military buildup that's going on around there. There's a lot of other things. Did you want to jump in on something?
I mean, so you listed this, series of observations, and
Yeah.
like I said, we keep saying inauguration, but looking a little bit past the headline story of what it's being told to be, what are you thinking putting all of this stuff together?
Well, this is my personal. I'll tell you what I think personally. I think I've been looking at these anomalies. I've been looking at the other things that have been going on. I've been looking at the executive orders that Trump's been issuing, and in the final days of his office, he's issuing executive orders that don't begin until a date that's after the 20th, or may extend for a year or years past him being in office. And he's doing this in the last days of his office. That doesn't make sense. That's an anomaly. I'm looking at the emergency declaration that has that, if you will, if you actually look back to the March emergency declaration, it really put FEMA in charge of the country.
Right.
I mean, what everything is pointing to, like FEMA kind of running the country right now.
Yeah.
Is this that FEMA is running the show more or less? I mean, in a way, on paper and authorized by law,
Legally,
FEMA
right.
is doing its thing. And look at that, and look at they had an alert level go up on what's called cognizant government alert something or another, but it has to do with alert levels to provisional government people, continuity of government people.
Yeah.
And so they had an alert raised there. So anyway, basically, I believe this is what I believe. I believe sometime soon we will, and that maybe that's tomorrow, maybe it is sometime in the next near future, or maybe it's a little bit longer out, and that could be leading up anytime up into maybe early March. I think that a lot of D-class is going to come down, a lot of information is going to be released, and the military is going to arrest those certain individuals who have been involved in sedition and treason and conspiracy thereto of those charges, and perhaps even worse, crimes against humanity and other type of things. I believe everything's in place to do that. The military are the true oath keepers of the oath to defend the Constitution. I cannot see the military allowing this country to go down the path it would go down with Joe Biden as the president. It increasingly in the last several days with what Joe Biden has been announcing he's going to do.
Yeah.
It's scary if that were to be the case. It undoes everything that was good for the country that President Trump did. It does worse. It's going to essentially any conservative's going to be singled out and put away. Any conservative, they will find out who's a conservative.
Yeah, they're already doing it. That's why those two got taken out of the group, is because they were found out to be right-wing extremists. And dude, there's a whole campaign right now about recreating 9/11. There's going to be something big that is about to go down, and it's going to be comparable to a 9/11, and it's going to strike fear and it's going to hurt us. And so you're going down the path of the military will not compromise themselves. There's hope here. We're going to see a martial law, but in the good way, that the military leaders will spot the corruption within the administration, go in and attack and take them out, and sustain power, meanwhile bringing in a new administration, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And
yeah.
Another point that leads me to believe that the military has the evidence already. They have it. The National Security Agency has everything.
Yeah.
NSA has it all. And Acting Secretary of Defense Chris Miller just ordered the NSA to install a top new general counsel who is a loyalist to Trump and the conservative and patriot movement, who is going to be responsible for identifying the pieces of information that are going to be released as part of the evidence in this operation.
Man, well,
My personal thought is this entire thing is a sting operation. It's a setup.
I hope so, Stewart. I hope so, Sergeant Stewart, because I go the whole opposite direction, and it is dark. It is so dark, and it's that scene. Yeah, like I said, I can appreciate that the angle, of the sting and the long play of it. But yeah, I go in a complete opposite. We have our military that are gathering up in numbers, and they have occupied territory in the country. DC, however, is not part of the United States, which we also need to recognize here that is part of Crown territory, and
Correct.
that is a sovereign nation, DC, right there. So,
Correct.
as far as because if it weren't, that would be illegal for them to even go in and do such a thing at the scale that they're doing it. It's like they are showing force, and it seems, like I said, if we put together the pieces of, they're saying new 9/11. These are key words that are being thrown out by the media. It's new 9/11. It's all Trump supporters are terrorists. They are the real threat, right? They're still seeding these key words of division and warmongering and hatred, and just so it's being fueled by that, and so it's I don't know, man. It's like the military, could be ramping up to now wage war on half of the country that has raised their hand and said, I support this person that they have identified as the enemy. And that's why on some crazy higher stuff, it's like we should not be voting for individuals. We should not be voting, period. To even participate in this system, we're identifying ourselves like, hey, come and get me, like every war is political. Every genocide is political. You're either with this team or you're with that team. And so what if no one said, I'm on no team? Like, I want nothing to do with this, young men and women that are going to the military thinking that they're going to serve their country. They're going to do all this greatness. They're going to, they've been fed this narrative of you're a hero and you're going to, you're doing God's work. And that's every military's script on the planet, that's MS-13's script. You're going to join the family and you're going to serve and you're part of a dynasty. And we are fighting for freedom because our people are oppressed. And this is how we deal justice, this and that. And so when you get a military organization to follow orders, which is what they're there for, they're there to follow orders. And we're seeing those who have raised their hand and said, I support this person. Okay, well, you two leave. You're not on this assignment, because we need people that are fully engaged and not, they're not going to, there's not going to be any pushback. And so they're getting those people out. They could be starting in DC and expanding this territory, just a show of force. And just the show of force alone, I feel, is even more provocation of war. What's to stop a military general or whatever, getting some orders from the new administration saying, all right, we've got, 300 million vaccinations, go door to door. Let's go. You're fighting to save America. You're the hero. Go door to door, administer these vaccines, and save the world, And they just, yes, sir, and they go, So I'm going down a crazy train, realized, but that's also an avenue, right? Like, and that would trigger then people, it would just trigger an all-out war, which now we're talking civilians versus their government, And so, like, this is, we're in genocide, We're in genocide, and what path, what page do we, it's like a Goosebumps book, go for this ending, go this way. It's like, what the fuck is going on here? Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think so. Yeah, I think I'm done. I think I wish that. I hope that it's. But I feel like it's also a big stroke sesh. Also, there's something deep inside me that says, like, I hear that, and it is that utopian. Like, no, it's all part of the plan. Part of the plan. Part of the plan. Like, man, like, how deep can the plan get before we see this person arrested? We've been saying this person's going to get arrested for how many years and nothing, we keep saying, oh yeah, well, you have to let him do this. And so I don't know. Like I said, I appreciate it. And I hope for that, and it's, I guess, yeah, just, there's a dark side also of, like you said, if Biden gets in, we know they're going to come for us. We know there's camps. We know there's military force. We know all these things. And it's like, all right, but yeah.
So I think a point that might not be bearing as loudly on you that maybe should be is that I want to say over 90%, it's at least 92% of veterans, and it's over that percentage of military supports President Trump. And to me, it wouldn't make sense to me for a tyrant to use a military that is actually completely opposite of supportive, who completely is against what that person stands for, and supported completely that target that you mentioned would be me or you or whoever voted for Trump and raised their hand and did that. I feel like the military, and the saying the military is the only way, I feel like the military is the most loyal to the Republic group that you can get. And now that's not loyal to a person, that's loyal to the Republic. And
yeah.
Maybe the difference with the U.S. military is the U.S. military, takes that oath to protect and defend the Constitution, not to protect and defend a Joe Biden or a Donald Trump or a George Bush.
Yeah, man.
But see, that's how I feel, and maybe that's because I took the oath, and maybe that's because I was part of that.
Could be some bias there. Could be a little bias, yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
But the path that you mentioned is a path that is it a possibility? Well, I think any path's a possibility, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But although my gut feel is the other way, and obviously that I follow the Q and military intelligence operation.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to accept. Just to trust the plan. 100% hard to accept that. But something else tells me that you're going to wait until the very last minute. You're going to wait until it's right to pull the card. You're going to wait until the very right strategic and tactical moment to take those actions. And if you look at all of the different anomalies that are in place that Trump has put into place.
Yeah.
So Trump, it's hard for me to see Trump leaving the Republic saying, if you listen to his speech,
I did my best. Good luck,
If you listen to his speech today, that's what he said. I did my best. That is not like any Donald Trump speech I've ever listened to.
Yeah.
That the mood is a completely different mood. It's almost like he's put on a mask. It doesn't make any sense. He doesn't seem panicked. Why wouldn't a man who's going to get singled out and hung with a noose from a tree when he's out of office by these people? We all know that that's what they want to do.
They're going for him.
He's that the calmness that surrounds him. It's just there's all these anomalies just keeps pounding on me, going, man, something just isn't right. Like, that's it. And
could the Q thing?
Maybe it's not it in the sense that maybe it doesn't follow everything on that, but I feel something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. But there's something that's going to happen.
Something's going to happen.
I don't know if it's a big false flag or a big attack or a massive 9/11 style thing.
And here's how they hack the military allegiance is to bring in another military, right? We bring in foreign troops, UN peacekeepers for the combative, militants, Trump supporters that are right over here. So, it's crazy, man. But yeah, it seems like they're definitely.
That's if they can do that, because right now that's not into play.
Yeah.
And I mean, they may be amassing somewhere else or whatever, but that they would still have to get the UN in here, and that's still under the premise that 300 million firearms in the United States of America allows that to happen.
Yeah. Along
with a vast majority of military who are gonna jump on board and not let a foreign military come on board. I'm gonna tell you straight from the heart. I would guarantee if a foreign military were to come on this soil, all hell is going to break loose. It does not just. We do not just sit down and lay down. It doesn't happen that way.
All right, brother.
I know it. It runs through the blood. It runs through the oath. It runs through that love of the flag of this country and our brothers and sisters who love the country. And those of us, we just that's it. It ain't gonna happen. There's so many veterans out there that we're just not gonna let it happen. There's way more veterans who are armed than there is military in the United States.
Hell yeah, dude. I love it. I think we should end it right there, unless you want to add something else. But
I was just going to say, Act of 1871, you brought up the D.C.'s a crown land.
Yeah.
Act of 1871 put it as a crown land. I see this operation as the operation that ends the occupation of the United States of America by the crown. I believe that's what this operation is. That they are surrounding like a border, like a military-style border, the D.C., the District of Columbia, the Crown Land. It's being surrounded by the United States military, the Republic's military. That's how I see it.
Man, okay, let's get into that next time, because that's a whole nother thing. But love it, man. Good stuff. Sergeant Stewart out, and we'll check back in here in a couple days.
Over now, brother.
All right, man. See ya.